All right, I'll see. How are you all this evening of your time as you create time to exist? Good. We will begin this evening's interaction with the idea of energy. Energy. The energy that you are. The energy that you feel yourself to be. In this way, recognize that in a sense as you are a product of the creation of the physicalized universe. The physicalized universe is first state of being. After it takes its form and function from the idea that we have referred to as the template, the non-physical template upon which the idea of physical reality is built or based. The first manifestation of the physicalization of the universe in this way will simply be the homogeneous energy field that you call itself the primal, fundamental energy of all that is. Out of this primary energy field, all that you refer to as material is created, is manifested, is formed, transformed, reformed into many different concepts, many different reflections, and many different ideas of the primal energy idea itself. In this way, recognize your consciousness projects itself into that primal energy field, in a sense, impresses itself upon that primal energy field, in a sense, and whatever idea you are being, whatever pattern you imagine yourself to be, that is how your consciousness projects itself into the idea of the primal energy matrix and allows it to take form, substance, gives it, in a sense, a shell, a cloak, to represent in physical reality, in material terms, the idea you are being as a consciousness. Therefore, do recognize that the idea of everything you are experiencing in your physiological reality is, once again, not so much something different than yourself that you are experiencing, but you are actually experiencing another version of what you are, who you are. You, yourself, are the experience that you are having. You are the experience that you are having. You follow me? Mm-hmm. In this way, all of the physical reality, all of the emotional atmosphere in which any particular manifestation or experience does occur in your life, in a seemingly objectified manner, all of that materiality, all of that atmosphere, all of that projected emotionality, every simple nuance, it is all you in different manifesting forms, different manifesting reflections back to yourself. You have created the idea of yourself to be what you call physical reality. In this particular manifestation of physical reality, there are many, but in this particular manifestation of the idea, you are being, you are playing out as your particular unique physical reality. Physicalized realization. You simply have created a great deal of what we have discussed to be limitation, separation, so that you could explore all of the ideas of what it means to be limited, which, if you do not forget that you created this reality, you would not be able to do. Therefore, you have created yourselves to be the idea of a reality whose only cognition, basically, fundamentally, immediately, is a material reflection seemingly outside yourself, so that you can in fact feel as if you are in a material universe, rather than knowing that the material universe is what you are. But that is what you are now beginning to explore from the idea of integration, because this, as we have said many times, is the end of the cycle of limitation. You are beginning to experience integration, blending more and more and more awareness of more of yourself. And in this way, you are beginning to blend the dream, imagination, and physical realities into one. To experience all the ideas of this transformation, experiencing the disorientation, the confusion, the limbo state, the seemingly surge more realistic attitudes and atmospheres that you may encounter from time to time that allow you to feel disassociated from the material physicality that you have been used to experiencing for so many hundreds of thousands of years. Now you find yourself integrating and beginning to see through the illusion that you have created of physical materiality. It has served you and served you well, but an illusion, a tool, and a creation it is nonetheless. Now you will continue for some time, based upon your choice of course, to experience another type of physical materiality, what we have referred to as fourth density, a little bit more rarefied, higher degree of energy expression. And thus many of you now are finding that as you are beginning to acclimate to the idea of the new accelerated energy, but are still thinking that you exist in the old terminology of third density, many of you may begin and have been feeling this energy in different ways as long as you are attaching comparisons to your body and what you think your body can and cannot tolerate. Many of you may feel the acceleration of this energy in many different ways according to what we have described as fevers, flushings, adrenaline rushes, anxiety rushes. Many times pain in the spine, the shoulder blades, the base of the neck, migraines, sinus pressure, palpitations of the heart, rushes of anxiety in the solar plexus. All of these ideas are fourth density symptomatic. In this way, simply of new awareness of new levels of energy that you are, but still couched in old terminology. You will assimilate, you will acclimate. Do not fear. It is simply one of the ways you can begin to consciously be aware that you are changing, you are transforming. All of these different manifestations let you know something is going on. Because you have created yourselves to be a reality that has relied upon the need for a process in order to become something else, then many of you still have a little bit of the remnant of some of these processes, and that is the only reason why you are feeling some of these ideas to be taking some time in working themselves through. But work themselves through they will. For you are the idea of the transformation itself. So transformation
is now what you all are all about. You all follow along? Yes. Sharing. Bashar, yes. A couple of weeks ago, you said that third density is where we experience the illusion that the objective circumstances and people around us
create the subjective feelings within. Something like that. I can't
in a sense, the idea that your life is affected by seemingly externalized forces, rather than the truly subjective understanding that you are creating those affectations within yourself and projecting them to seemingly come from somewhere outside of you.
Okay. If a person reaches the stage where he no longer blames or points fingers, does that mean he has more or less achieved fourth density?
In a sense, yes. That will be the beginnings of the fourth density experience. There can be and will be, according to your choice of how long you wish to remain in the fourth density experience for the approximately 2,000 to 3,000 years it will last, there will be more and more changes, physiological changes, energy changes, sociological changes that you will be able to witness as you go along in fourth density. But that will be the beginning of your willingness to consciously know that you are now in fact in fourth density.
And is that how you would sum up the fourth density? Where the subjective creates the objective?
Yes, in a sense. Knowing that there really is no such thing as objectivity. Knowing that you create your reality, totally. Fourth density is taking responsibility for the creation of your reality, acting like you actually do in fact create your reality. That is fourth density. Recognizing that everything, as we have said, is synchronicity, and acting like it. Everything is interconnected holographically. Everything is the same one thing, manifesting in all the different multifaceted, multidimensional ways that it can simultaneously with regard to any particular event. everything you experience is the same one thing. Knowing that and acting like you know it is living in fourth density, living in the now, living in the moment. Follow me.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bashar.
You, then you.
I'm beginning to have some experiences in my dreams where I feel like I'm conscious in my subconscious.
Yes.
I'm literally having dreams where I'm asking myself what the interpretation of the dream is in the dream while I'm in the dream and I'm conscious of it.
Very good. You are recognizing that there is only but one consciousness, and that the terminology of subconscious and unconscious have simply been convenient separations to allow you to remove responsibility for the creations in your life from you to someone else. Therefore, now that you are all willing to take responsibility, you will not need the sub and unconscious anymore. Because you will know consciously that you are creating your reality, and you will not believe that there needs to be any portions of yourself that are not worthy of being completely out in the open, out front, and equal with any other portion. They do not necessarily now need to be buried anywhere, because you are willing to face the total being that you are.
Well, then what's been the difference between the subconscious and the unconscious?
In this way, let us say, it is simply a matter of degree as to what you are willing to face. You may say, in that sense, therefore, that the, let us say, unconscious is where you bury the things that you don't want to deal with right now. The subconscious is maybe where you put things that you are willing to deal with a little bit. Like what you might call the clearinghouse. See if it is safe. Test it out in the subconscious before you truly let it into the consciousness. And then, when you are through with that one, you pull another idea from the unconscious, plop it into the safety zone of the subconscious, so you have time to deal with it according to your own pace. Then when you are ready, it goes into the consciousness, and so on, and so on. But now is the idea of knowing that there is nothing you can discover within your unconscious that could possibly be of anything but positive surface to you. So why allow it to take that long?
Well, then will this all clear out? In other words, will we dissolve of the unconscious as we move into this fourth density? By the time we're completely in the fourth density, will the unconscious be completely dissolved, or how is the correlation?
In a sense, you will simply know what you need to know, when you need to know it. You will be living in the moment, and you will fear nothing. So you will be consciously aware of everything in your life as your creation. Nothing mysterious, nothing hidden, nothing occult.
Then you'll eventually move into integrating with your higher self.
In a sense, that is still a form of integration with your higher self, but remaining in physiological terms. Fourth density is the expression of synchronous, harmonious congruency with your so-called higher self, while still remaining to some degree separated. Fifth density, in a sense, then is actually becoming the higher self. Thank you.
Yes, this was very interesting to me, the fact that, or the observation that the third density appears to be composed of dichotomies and polarities and these various things.
It is one of the definitions that creates third density.
Right. Now,
it is not so much that third density contains it. That is what creates third density.
Right, okay. Now, what's interesting to me is that the fourth density appears to be a dichotomy of the third density, an opposite of it. Would that be accurate?
No, does not have to be. Do recognize that even though you may be able in third density to recognize polarities, that does not necessarily mean you have to experience the negativity.
Right.
Therefore, it does not have to be an opposite in that way.
I see.
But it is, so to speak, an opposite in terms, perhaps, simply of the idea of going from not knowing you are creating your reality to knowing that you are.
I understand.
One moment.
Yes. This week I've experienced a great deal of anger.
Oh.
Almost, and...
Anger?
Yeah. And it's been very, very powerful anger.
That
And
anger is powerful.
yeah. Well, I have strived not to judge it.
Strived not to judge.
Yeah.
Strived not to judge.
That's right.
Oh, you are judging, so you will not judge.
Yeah, it's really rough, you know.
Rough. If you say so. May I remind you that natural, quote unquote, as you say, anger does not bring a negative feeling with it.
That's true, but if it lasts longer than 15 seconds,
It
remember?
is judgment.
That's right.
Now, anger in itself truly is not so much the idea to change the terminology of anger, but it is alignment.
Yeah.
That is all. When you see something that you know is not the vibration of your reality, you align into the vibration you know to be true for you.
Yeah.
Now, when you judge what you are witnessing and what you are aligning to, then it becomes negative. Then it becomes what you usually refer to as anger. But anger is only alignment. It is that surge of knowingness that when you see something, you immediately align yourself to see how it is you relate to that. Where you stand with reference to that particular reality, that particular belief. That is all. That does not mean that you need to judge what it is you do not prefer for yourself. That is the only thing that creates the negative anger, is judging what has so lovingly given you an opportunity to understand what your reality actually is very clearly.
Yes, what I've observed is that there's a certain third density viewpoint that certain people that I have come across, oddly enough, in this past week, to reflect back to me. I found that I was actually irritated with them, and I thought, Pamela, my God, I thought of you and how lovingly you are so willing to listen to everything that we say, and I found that I was...
Because I always have fun.
Yes, yes, I know you do. And I was just noticing that it was an honest feeling that I had, and which I don't particularly consider wonderful, but there's some judgment on it, okay.
Oh, I thank you.
Is simply that it almost appeared so-called selfish, and even though I understand that everyone is wonderful and all those aspects we discussed, I understand all of that. Nevertheless, the honest gut feeling was one of irritation and, oh, for God's sake, why don't you just, if you want to do this, don't ask me to do it for you. Do it yourself.
All
or
right.
why are you looking up to me?
All right.
That sort of thing. And I found myself really, really angry about it.
All right.
Quite surprised.
But once again, you do not necessarily need irritation. It's the understanding that individuals that come to you in that way, trying to give you their power, you do not have to take it. And in this way, in a sense, being irritated is simply doing what they are doing to you back to them. Giving away your power to them. To give them the ability to make you irritated. Rather than simply reflecting to them that they are just as powerful as you are and do not need to approach you in that way by giving their power away.
Yes, I mentioned it. I see what you're saying.
All
Yes.
right.
Thank you.
It is your choice. Thank you.
Bashar,
Yes.
is there any truth to the idea
Is
that...
there any truth? Before you go on, allow me to remind you, the truth is composed of all truths.
Okay.
Now,
Now I don't know how to ask my question.
the way to understand everything is simply that what is true for you is just as true as what is true for someone else, even if they are totally different. They are both true. There is no one background against which to measure something for its truthfulness. The truth, the only one background truth, is that it is composed of all truths. Therefore, obviously, if you have conceived of an idea, for you it is true. Or you may simply recognize that for someone else it is true if it is not true for you.
Then if I have a truth that I have decided to be true in my life,
Yes.
that I don't like, and I would like to make it into another truth, how would you go about doing that?
In this way, do you recognize that it is simply something that you do not prefer,
Yes.
or something you are judging? When you say you do not like it.
prefer, and I think I'm also judging
It is one or the other.
it. Okay, then it's something I don't prefer.
All right. Then if you know you don't prefer it, then you're not it. You're something else. You follow me?
Not really.
If you can even have the conception that there is something else you would rather be, in order to have that conception, you must already be that other thing. Otherwise, it never would have dawned on you that there was any other way. You can only observe the idea when you are already something else. You follow me?
Yeah.
Just knowing that there is something you do not prefer means you are already something else, other than that thing you do not prefer. Otherwise, you would not be able to know you don't prefer it. Because you would not have a seemingly objectified point of view. You would not know there was anything else to prefer. If you know there is something else to prefer, then you must already be partaking of that vibration in order to give you the perspective that what it was you were doing is something you don't prefer anymore. You simply do not believe that your imagination, your conceptual abilities are as real as the thing you were doing. But as soon as you even conceive of an idea, you are automatically on that vibratory wavelength. Being on that vibratory wavelength is in and of itself being the idea you prefer.
So then I'm conceiving of something that I really do prefer, and I'm
Okay.
witnessing something else that I don't prefer.
You are witnessing it, so what?
Well,
What has that got to do with the idea you are being?
what if it's like all around you?
All around you, so what?
Then just be in it?
Understand, you are living in a transformational world.
Yeah.
Any reality you are desirous of experiencing, you can experience it. At the same time, recognize all the other realities everyone else is having. That does not necessarily mean it has to be your reality. You follow me?
Yeah.
So in this way, do not give your power away to anyone else. Know what is true for you and act like it. That is the only thing that will affect you, are the things that are true for you. Anything else that affects you, you are choosing to allow it to affect you. And therefore you are saying that you are not truly being what you prefer. You follow me?
Yeah.
Does that assist you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
You.
Carrying this idea a little bit further, I want to explore something with you, which I seem to be a little bit
Speak up.
confused about. If an individual is creating their entire reality, they are their reality.
Right.
Okay, and there are other consciousnesses supposedly that are doing the same thing in a
Right.
co-producing environment.
Right.
Okay. So you have, let's say that one has something in their life that they don't particularly enjoy, yet they are creating that whole thing.
Hey.
And so, but someone else appears to be there. It's like these sets that Daryl makes. You know, it's like they look real from the inside of them, but when you get behind them, you can see that it's just a set. It's a cardboard set.
So
the consciousness is behind the set, so to speak. Although it's
only because
also,
you believe it to be behind the scenes.
But-
That is the idea of the sub and unconscious you have created. When you take full responsibility and blend them, then the set will be the consciousness itself.
Okay, all right, I can see that now. If there are other individuals being their own sets as well, you still have these coaptions.
Right.
You're saying that.
According to what you believe to be true for you, you will create coactivity with someone else that fulfills your level of belief.
Okay, so if you have something in your life, let's say that you're not enjoying, you have to be responsible, take responsibility for the entirety of it. you know, the not enjoyment.
Yes, but that does not mean blame.
No, I know
All right.
that. Okay. But meanwhile, this other individual is over there creating this co-circumstance.
Yes. So?
Well, there's something in that I'm not getting. I don't.
Well, simply in this way, you think you are anchored to the idea of what it is they're creating. You are not. You are not responsible for their part of the creation. That is what you are missing. You are responsible to them to be completely your part of the creation. If your part of the creation changes, then you are acting with an integrity to act like it has changed. If that removes you from the coexistent set, so be it.
Okay, so
then that is also what they have co-created, the potential to interact with someone who might have changed their reality enough to vacate the set. Then that becomes the set.
Yet, in the overallness, that one is actually the other consciousness as well, only it's not really apparent so much in this kind of a reality.
Okay.
So you don't really take responsibility for that view. You allow that view to create what it creates, so that you can.
You are responsible to that you by being completely who you are,
or choosing to be at the time. In other words, like who one is now, in the moment.
That is what I said. By being completely who you are. There is no other way to do that other than being in the moment. Does that clarify the idea to some extent?
It does. I have one more.
All right.
I've been interested in the idea of alchemy lately.
Hey. Transformation.
Transformation, yeah. It seems like that looking at it from the standpoint of a physical reality, that it is basically allowing the self to become the master of the self to a certain degree. Like
all right.
knowing more about yourself and what your being is, what you're capable of.
Transforming into more of yourself. Yes.
Great.
Hey.
Sure.
You.
I'd like to add something perhaps to Christina's question.
All right.
It helps to remember that we're multidimensional, and that doesn't mean dimensions that are vastly different from our current reality. It means dimensions within our current reality. So
that too.
In one respect, a person could select to associate with other beings as multiple dimensions or other dimensions and experience their negativity if he chooses, or witness his negativity, or he can actually choose not to associate with those dimensions or those beings at all. And his reality will be entirely positive. He won't even see any of the negativity. So it's really a matter of choosing the various dimensions of the individual beings that you're associating with. That helps clarify it for me anyway.
Thank you for your sharing and clarification.
Great. I have another couple of sharings. We had a really neat earthquake a couple days ago.
Yes. 222.
Ah. What? 222. Oh, that's right.
On 7/7.
Yes.
Yeah.
The gateway that we spoke of last week of your time.
7/7.
In this way, it is a representation of a transformation of an entire body of consciousness that was in this way channeled in a shift in your electromagnetic field and therefore your physiological plate as well. Its specific merit in the area that you call your Palm Springs has to do with ancient energies that arrived upon your planet in that area long ago. And because of this doorway, because of this release, it has now been crystallized. Do you follow me?
No. Like you look at Steve.
Yes.
Yes, I do.
The idea we have discussed of much of the Orion energy arrived upon your planet at that point. And in this way, the exemplification of the crystallization of the electromagnetic field in that area has now allowed much of that energy to be completely and totally balanced.
It was a very widely spread earthquake, but it didn't seem to do much what we would call damage. I mean, there's some damage, but not really severe life loss.
It was mostly for the idea of a physiological reflection of the crystallization of an ancient energy that now allows for balance.
It was on 7/8, not 7/7.
Close enough.
My girlfriend and I were feeling tired. We took a nap that evening prior to the earthquake, and I didn't tap into what was happening, but she kind of had a presage of the earthquake happening, and then it happened. It's kind of like
many individuals have. As you become more and more connected to all that is, you will be able to always read any type of communication.
I have another sharing. I had an interesting realization. You've been saying that you can take any of that which is fundamentally neutral and perceive it as negative or positive. I realized that at that moment where you decide whether to perceive it negatively or positively, that is the choice point. That's the fork in the dimensional road where you decide which dimension you're going to go into. And if you decide a positive dimension, you will literally be going into the positive realities. It's not a matter of experiencing the negativity in the same dimension or the positivity in the same dimension that you would have gone.
Correct.
Anyway, it's really a different reality.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Crystal clear.
Bashar,
Yes.
on the earthquake, there was an interesting news clip where a fellow whose house actually was damaged was talking about he was dreaming while it was happening, and as he woke up and the room was falling apart around him, he really felt he continued to be in the dream. And I thought it was a very interesting reflection on what you've been talking about, that dreams and realities are blending into one.
Yes.
I thought so.
Thank you.
What did you mean by the energy was crystallized?
In this way, the idea we have expressed many times of one of the reasons of the Orion energy. In this way, becoming physicalized in your sphere, your Earth sphere in this way, was for the purpose of learning the balance of the positive and the negative. This idea has now been crystallized. Meaning that within individuals who are connected to that energy in specific ways, they now avail themselves of knowing that within themselves is all the opportunity of all the balance and all the acceleration they desire from this point forward. For the idea is that the road is clear. And that energy is now completely and utterly connected back to the original system to also create a balance within that system.
What would be the opposite, the condition prior to the crystallization? How would you describe that?
Simply limbo state, uncertainty.
Amorphous energy?
In a sense, what you have already described as just before the fork in the road.
Okay.
Now, the fork has been arrived at for that particular consciousness manifestation and has crystallized into the positive reality. There are many systems. One of the ideas and understandings would be associated with what you refer to in your language as one of the stars in the belt called Mintaka. The planetary system associated with that, or closest to that, stellar grouping in the language of the original system would be Kuva.
I have a question about past lives.
Yes.
If that's part of the different dimensions that
Yes.
we have,
Yes.
the different realities,
Yes.
are they maintained at the same time?
Yes. All is simultaneous. Linear time is an illusion, though it is real while you are in it. And once again, to utilize a phrase that one of your own has recognized already, because you were desirous of experiencing limitation and keeping everything separated, then time is one of the ways to keep everything from happening all at once. As you have said, upon your own planet. It is a convenient way of allowing yourself to become objectified. But it is all occurring now. The past and the future are created in the present. You follow me? Thank you very much, yes.
It would seem like the picture that we're painting of, or whatever we're creating, the energy that we're creating.
Speak up!
It would seem like the energy that we're creating, whether we choose to play the third density or the fourth density or the fifth density or the second or whatever, it would just be what process we decide to run at that particular point in time or what game we decide to play.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
So you get tired of it, try another one.
In a sense, although it is not so much the idea of getting tired of anything, but simply recognizing that you have fulfilled your particular needs along that line. Thank you.
Bashar?
You.
Yes. I had a question. For the past almost 2 months, I've been getting this picture over and over again of my father in a car, kind of over the steering wheel. It wasn't as if he was physically dead or anything, but like in a state of not knowing or confusion.
All right.
And it had been coming back and more, and lately there have been some talks about changes and some things that might be changing in my family,
okay.
And I've been getting this picture more and more.
All right.
And I was wondering about it. If there's
you are wondering about it. Why wonder when you can simply understand your own symbology? Do recognize, first of all, the understanding of the car, the vehicle that moves you, in which you travel. Confusion, once again, is not necessarily a negative thing. Co-fusion, fusion with more of yourself. In this way, recognize that the changes that are occurring may be, in this case, being created to be part and parcel of energies you have shared before in other lives, and you are simply taking turns at making shifts and transformations, acting as each other's anchors at different times. So that one at a time will experience the unsettling quality of the transformation, and not both.
Okay, thank you. I have another question.
All right.
Also, sometimes I've been able to get a picture of something that's going to happen, like within like 5 or 10 minutes down and time. And I was just wondering if there was anything you could tell me about that, how I could.
You are beginning to live in the now and recognizing your own probable choice futures. The ones that you are giving the most energy.
Okay, thank you.
It allows you more conscious recognition of being able to choose what you prefer, rather than simply feeling like you are being steered at the whim of fate.
Okay, thank you.
Steered. All right?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar? Bashar?
Yes.
Yes, I'm an actress in New York, and I believe that you create your own reality for a long time.
Our perception is that you are in the city called Los Angeles.
Right, okay. But anyway, I want to know what I can do to speed up my career progress.
Speed it up?
Yes, well, I want it now. I want to do films now. I want to do television now. I want
All
to
right.
20 years.
Go ahead.
But what do I do? What do I physically do in my
Be an actor. Are you?
Yes, I am.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Then if you are an actor.
I do work at it, but I
You
don't
what?
earn. I do work in the profession, but I don't earn my total living doing it.
So what?
And I would like to do that. I would like
Then
to.
do so. What are you holding on to?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking for your help, because I'm doing everything I know in my power to do, and I get jobs here and there.
Here and there.
Yes, but not consistently. Not enough to support myself just acting, which is what I'd like to do.
You are missing the point. When you trust that you are an actor, then there will be nothing else that you will want to do, and you won't do anything else. That is what will give you the opportunity to be supported only as an actor.
Okay.
You follow me?
Yes, I do.
It is a matter of trust. Once again, The idea is that you are always a 100% idea. If you are doing something else, and you wish to be doing the acting, and you say, well, all right, I will work as hard as I can at being an actor. I will be an actor 100%. How can you be an actor 100% when you are still 30% something else? Mm-hmm. You follow me?
Yes, yes.
So in this way, recognize that you are always a total 100% idea. If you are still 30% something else, then the most you can ever become an actor is 70%.
So does that mean quit the survival job that I have on the side? Is that
is what it may mean. Mm-hmm. It is a matter of trust. Now understand, it works. I guarantee it. The understanding is that every idea comes complete with all the ingredients necessary for the manifestation of that idea and the continuance of you being that idea. You don't have to do anything special. All you have to do is act like you are the idea you believe you are. Mm-hmm. If you are willing to act like the idea, then the universe has no choice but to support you by giving you a reason to support the effect you have created. The cause does not have to come first.
Okay.
You follow me?
Yes, I do. I have another question
for
you.
Right.
Fulfilling relationships with members of the opposite sex have eluded me for years. I get love and intimacy, or I get like sex. And I want to know what I can do so that I can get all of it in one person and have, a life partner.
Be that. Understand, once again, this is an idea of attracting a reflection of your own belief in your own incompleteness. The understanding that you think you need a relationship in order to be complete. That means you can only attract a relationship that will only reflect your belief in your incompleteness. If you already know you are complete and do not need the relationship to complete you, then you will be of a vibration that contains the totality of all that you prefer in someone else, and by being that vibration first, you will then attract someone who will reflect that vibration of completeness back to you. So it is not so much that the relationship is there because you need it, but it is there so you can share each other's completeness.
Okay.
Again, the idea is that you are looking for a reason before you will allow yourself to be the effect. Cause and effect are the same event. Be the effect, and nature will supply the cause automatically.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bashar.
Yes.
Bashar.
All right, you.
How do you stop letting fear take over? Well,
know that it is your friend. It is giving you messages. Tap, tap, look here. Part of yourself you didn't know existed. I'm bringing it to your attention. Isn't that wonderful? Now that you are aware of it, you can integrate it into the rest of your being and be more of what you are. Haven't I done you a wonderful service? No. What do you mean you didn't want to see that part of yourself? I thought you wanted to see everything there was to see, experience every facet of the multidimensional existence that you are. Do you not want to integrate into yourself so that you can accelerate in that way? You're not sure? Well, all right, I'll hang around until you are sure. Until you allow me to deliver the message, I will hang around. Of course, as long as I hang around, you might as well feed me, pay for my meals, allow me to grow, become a living, get stronger and stronger, nag you constantly, until you allow me to deliver my message so I can get out of here. That is the only reason fear is there, because you do not allow it to deliver the message that it brings, because you attempt to reject the message because you think it is something that is not worth having. Does that assist you?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Yes. When you use the word you, Y-O-U, you're speaking in an overall sense.
Sometimes not.
Well, let's say if I said I wanted $1 million, but I don't have it, you'd say, well, you don't really want it. But the me that I know myself by wants the $1 million.
What does it matter what you want? Do you not prefer what will truly allow you to be the idea you chose to be?
Yes. Yeah, I understand.
then there may be a situation where there is another way, an easier way to be that idea rather than the symbol of the money. Now, if you are concentrating on only the symbol of the money as being the only valid way that you will accept delivery of the situation you want, then you are shutting the doors on all the other ways it could be delivered to you. Because you are refusing to acknowledge that there may be other ways, quicker ways, easier ways it can manifest, rather than through the one symbol you are willing to recognize that you call money. It is not the only symbol of abundance.
I guess my question really is, that was just an example. My question really is the me that I know myself by, there are elements missing when you look at the overall picture. From your viewpoint, you can see probably more of me than I can see of myself. But
not really.
But okay, if I could see everything about myself,
yes,
I wouldn't be down and scrabbling around in the third density, would I?
In a sense, yes, no. In this way, first of all, you would not necessarily think that third density was such a bad place.
I don't particularly think
all right.
But you said before that in the fifth density you know. What did you say?
Fifth density will not be physical. You can know in fourth density. You can even know in third density.
But didn't you say something about you know?
What you need to know, and anything else that comes in is more of what you need to know, and not something to reject.
Well, what is the lady asked a question about fear, though. The fear is delivering a message. How I have fears myself, but I don't always know what the message is. I would rather have the message than the fear.
Well, simply in this way,
recognize in this way simply that now I am not saying that this is something that carries any more power than you do. But many of you have put much stock in the belief of habits. And so, because you believe that things can happen in your life habitually, second nature, without even knowing you are doing it, then many times you simply do not even realize that you are, before you can even think about it, rejecting the message that comes from the fear. Because you simply do not pay attention that quickly. You follow me? Therefore, it is simply a matter of allowing yourself to know that the messages are there, that you can hear them. Even allowing yourself to be fascinated by the fact that the fear might be bringing a message can even curtail the negativity, can dull the negativity. Just because you might be fascinated enough to say, well, what is the message? The minute you become curious, no more fear.
Could you give an example of what kind of message a fear would bring?
Well, in this way, you are walking down one of your streets. Someone walks up to you, and all of a sudden you are fearful. What do they want? What do they want? Why are they bothering me? I do not want to be accosted. Are they going to rob me? What do they want? Excuse me, do you have the time? Oh, well, yes. Oh, thank you very much. Goodbye. Why was I so fearful? Why was I so fearful? Automatically, without knowing anything at all, in that way. Assumptions and structures that you build. Habits that you believe in. The message is there that lets you know that that reaction lets you know you have beliefs within you, structures within you that you may not prefer. That may be the message. If you do not prefer to live that way, then you have now allowed yourself to let the fear show you that these beliefs are within you. Now you can change them. That is one way. You can allow fear to deliver a message. Will that serve you?
To a degree. Of course, there is a situation where the guy does have a gun under his coat.
Okay, so
fear is really telling you, get the hell out of there.
All right, now, once again, understand that that situation can occur that way, but it also does not have to. The idea of knowing your reality and knowing it without fear can give you the cognition that that event is there, but you know it will not affect you in any negative way.
That's the way I generally approach my life.
All right.
And I'm wondering,
cognition of a situation does not have to create fear.
true. Well, what I'm saying is that sometimes the sensation of the fear comes up and I go, okay, oh, look at that, that's neat.
Okay.
And I just find that I'm able not to feel fearful because I'm in the moment dealing with it, and I know that that there will be a positive outcome.
Yes. So how is that different from what we are saying?
Well, I'm saying if that does occur, then what is the message? I mean, have I just made the message unnecessary, or have I?
Yes. The minute you begin to become curious, you have gotten the message. The idea of many of the fears is to simply spur your curiosity to begin exploring that facet of yourself. That is all. It is a gentle reminder. And the more you are willing to explore, the gentler and gentler and gentler the nudges become until you simply do not experience that fear anymore. Again, it is simply the idea of little bits and pieces of beliefs and remnants. That is all. Little twinges of old habits. That is all. But as soon as you acknowledge that it is something worth exploring, no more habits.
So in the case where the guy does come up and he's got a gun, and his initial intention was to rob you or whatever, and you experience this fear, you go, okay, but I don't have to. I can just view this as a positive thing. That will flip you and him into the dimension where you co-create.
It can happen that way. It can also simply allow you to not come anywhere near that individual and vice versa.
Well, I'm saying he's 2 feet in front of you.
But understand, you are missing the point.
Okay.
Not that it cannot switch in the middle of the idea, but generally speaking, individuals do not necessarily need to have that particular type of reference to simply know that if they create their reality in a certain vibration, then you will never meet the individual at all. They will take another street. You will take another street. You will not have to come down to the idea of the confrontation at all. Although that may be one way that individuals may find an exciting way to come to terms with what they believe in the moment. It is certainly valid if they create it, and it has happened.
Well, it sounds like what you're saying is that where you go down a street other than what he goes down, it's as though you've already dealt with your fears in a way that you...
That is the point.
Okay, but I mean...
Yes. If you are using the situation to allow the fear to be there to deal with it, then yes, you can transform the situation right in the middle. And therefore recognize that if that is what you are willing to do, then the individual you have attracted is someone willing to change with you. Therefore, in a sense, it has already been changed.
Well, it exists already. And you just access that dimension of them and yourself.
Can I just finish the thought?
Good.
Judgment seems to be the common denominator. If you judge, you immediately create a polarity, which seems to create a magnetism.
Yes. You become the vibration. You are what you judge.
So rather than try and polish up the magnet, the best way is to blow your own polarity by becoming static, which is like pure love.
In a sense, you become polarized in your own reality. That is all. Your frequency can only therefore attract the same frequency. You can only experience what is on your wavelength and vice versa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar?
Yo.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
When the two people before spoke of fear, let's say, for instance, you experience the fear, and then you do become aware of beliefs that it points to. How do you then change the beliefs?
Once again, recognize that it is not a matter of needing a process, although your imagination can supply you with whatever process you think you need. That is what it is for. It is tuned right into your vibration. Anything you can imagine, therefore, that might work as a process for you in order to create that idea will work for you. If you change your mind, then that is an indication that you are supposed to. However, you do not necessarily need a process if you are willing to understand that once again, once you are cognizant that there is another way to be, you automatically already are that other way, and all you need, the only process you need, is to act like you already are that other way. Then your reality will be able to reflect the way you are now acting. That is it.
Thank you. Bashar?
You.
I have a fear of ghosts.
Ghosts?
Yeah.
Why? You have been one many times.
What kind of message? I mean, what I learned from it? How would I cope with it?
Oh, in this way, the idea may simply be that it is an indication of an extension of your powers and also perhaps a memory of an experience of another life wherein you allowed yourself to feel the limitations and restrictions that go along with that particular vibratory energy. For in this way, what you usually perceive as a spirit or a ghost or a haunting, so to speak, many times are individuals that are still very, very close to the physical vibration, yet have in your turn died. One of the reasons that they are close still to the physicalized vibration may be that they, A, do not know they have died, B, have died in a self-induced violent manner that allows for a lot of attachment to the earth plane to still exist. And so from time to time, the vibrations of that non-physical individual slow down enough to be perceived by individuals still physically living. This may simply be a reminder for you of a time that you created in a similar way that was unpleasant for you. And also now a reminder that as you now are extending your senses to go through that level and beyond, you still must encounter that level again. You are simply fearful that you will become stuck there again. But you won't be, because now you understand that that is only part and parcel of the idea of a specific belief system, and that you now already are a different belief system, and you will sail right through that level. Now, understand you can also be of assistance to these individuals because you have had the experience of being there before. And the original idea, as we have said many times, of your so-called exorcist is not the idea of the banishment of evil spirits, but what you would call a ghost psychologist, to allow them to know that they are in fact dead, that they are just fine where they are, and they do not have to remain attached to the idea of the physical earth plane and can get on with their lives on whatever level they want to. So you can assist any ghosts you come across in that way because they will recognize you are speaking from the heart, from experience, because you have been there. And you are simply recognizing that you may have a fear that you will be there again, but you will not, because that is not the belief system that you are right now. And interacting with the ghost in that way, in the dimension of your imagination, can also alleviate that fear for you, because you will become more and more familiar with that realm, it will become your friend, and you will sail right through it. You follow all I have been saying?
A little bit. My fear is I haven't had a confrontation with the ghost yet. I have a fear of it being there because...
Of course. But that is what we are saying. We are not saying you need the confrontation. We are saying it is, in your terms, a memory of having been, quote-unquote, stuck in that place. And so you fear to face it again.
Right.
In this way, we are saying you will not be stuck there again because that has nothing to do with the beliefs you have in this life. It is not what this life is all about. And it can be something you can utilize in a positive way because you are experienced with being in that state. Therefore, should you do run across something, the idea you call a haunting or a ghost, you will be able to communicate with them at the same time alleviating their fear so they can go on, alleviating your fear so you can go on.
Yeah, I just don't trust myself if somehow think that if a confrontation comes, I'll just go crazy, or fear and be paralyzed or something.
You are not paying attention. You have already been there. You don't need to be there again. The idea of your paralyzing fear is only an exemplification of the idea you experienced already in that state before. That is the only thing you are remembering, but that is not who you are. You can choose to recognize that that vibration has nothing to do with the idea you have created this life to live. Now, your imagination is a dimension unto itself. It is the dimension in which you exist as consciousness. In this way, therefore, trust and rely upon your imagination to provide for you scenarios right now, or whenever you feel so inclined and so comfortable, in your imagination, talk with ghosts. See what it is like. Right now, what would you imagine it would be like talking with a ghost? Create a ghost in your imagination and talk to it. What would you say? Let us say you are walking down your hallway and there is a ghost. What do you say?
I'd say, who are you?
All right. Nothing hard about that, is there?
What do you want? What do you need? What can I do for you?
All right. What's so tough about that?
Well, it's not tough because I'm surrounded by people, but when I'm alone and it's dark in the house.
You are always connected to all that is. Do not forget, you are simply confused in a negative sense with the idea of what being vulnerable is all about. You think vulnerability is weakness and exposure, and therefore susceptibility to negativity. Vulnerability is being willing to be open to all that is. Being open to all that is being connected to all that is. Being connected to all that is being infinitely self-empowered and strong. So be vulnerable when you meet that ghost. You will be infinitely supplied with infinite strength. Vulnerability is not weakness nor susceptibility to negativity. It is strength. It is love. It is willingness to be all that you are. And that is what will give you the ability, when you need it, at that moment, to deal with that ghost. And let them see in you the reflection of your life, the reflection of your love and your connection to all that is, so that you can remind them that if they can see that in you, they can turn around within themselves and see their connection. That is what will let them go on. Follow me.
Yes, thank you.
Feel the vibration of your love and share that with them. That is all you need.
Bashar.
I've been playing with astrology as a way of rediscovering dimensions
You're all
of
right.
myself.
Are you having a good time?
Yeah, I'm having a very good time.
Well, thank you.
And I've gone through the planets and the signs enough that I've been using points beyond the solar system, including galaxies and stars and black holes and things. And I've also been having a very good time with the images of a constellation. And those images, those images have been around for thousands of years. And I was just wondering if you could share some information about the...
Many of them are intuitive interpretations about the consciousness that is connected to those systems, such as Sirius being represented as the dog star, the dog in your society being the symbol of service. Sirius, the consciousness being the highest idea in the triad that forms the consciousness of your planet, our planet, and their planet, so they are in ultimate service to you. That is one example. You follow me?
Okay.
Orion being the hunter. In this way, a recognition of the idea of the polarities of the suppression that went on in those systems intuitively. You follow me?
Yeah. Are the images of a terrestrial source, or are they from an extraterrestrial source?
The symbology is of a terrestrial source. The energy is of an extraterrestrial source and a terrestrial source. Because everything is always the combination of the experience you are having. You follow me?
Yes. Were these images projected out by a certain group of men, or have they been gradually unfolded?
It is simply a cognition of the mass consciousness according to the relationships that you have formed with these other consciousnesses. What I am saying, therefore, it is the interaction itself on their part and your part as a civilization that creates the intuitive symbology. It is the way you have linked yourselves with those consciousnesses, the way they have linked themselves with you. It is the interaction that supplies the symbology that you are referring to.
Right.
But much of the symbology basically stems from your point of view. Physiologically. For a while, the other consciousness may recognize that symbological interaction, they may also have their own, quote-unquote, perspective of the interaction. And it is not necessarily exactly the same as your perspective of the interaction. So they would not necessarily have the same symbol.
But fruitful nonetheless.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Bashar.
You.
Bashar, the idea of atoms and little tiny particles,
Hey.
I've had trouble getting into that agreement. Is that a third density concept? Because
To some degree, yes.
Because I look at a wall, to me that wall is just a wall. I don't, I look at it as an illusion. It's a projected illusion in a sense.
Now understand that at this time, even many of what you call your own physicists understand that what they usually refer to out of symbological convenience as an atom is also only symbolic. They know it is an illusion, at least some of them do.
Okay, so the wall there is an adjustable thing, depends on what density
you look at. Absolutely.
Okay, one other thing. I used to have a problem. I'm very willful. I always wanted my own way, and I would tend to force what experience I wanted, and say it has to happen right now.
That is the surest way not to get it.
Right. I found a better way.
A different way.
A different way, brother. And it seems to work now. Is just
allowing.
It's just waiting. I hope I'm not copying out, but I seem
not
to feel
waiting. Doing what needs to be done at any given moment, not waiting for something better, but allowing. It is not so much exactly waiting, it is doing, but it is doing the unexpected at any given moment that allows itself to approach you as an opportunity. You are not waiting for something better to come along.
Okay, well,
that is paradoxically the way to allow all that you desire to be there as quickly as it can.
Right. Well, let me explain. Like today, I had to get through to somebody on the phone. The
Yay.
line was busy.
Yay.
So I sort of intended for the line to come clear, and I tried it again. It didn't work. So I decided at that point to just appear at the time when the communication would occur.
But that is not waiting. We understand what you mean. That is the cognition of everything as synchronicity.
Okay.
Since you are still going on about your business, you are not waiting. You simply know and trust that you will always be in the right place at the right time for what it is that needs to occur. That is not waiting.
All right. There's certain things, goals in my life that I guess I would say I've been waiting for them, waiting for the timing, and what I guess is disturbing is the time that passes that I'm aware of that between now and that event to come to pass.
But understand, once again, just like the call, you can't miss it by definition. You can't. Once you are that idea, you can't miss it. So you simply take it for granted that whatever is going on in your life, whether it seems to have something to do with this idea or not, must be something that has to do with that idea. Since you know that that is the idea that you are, it is what excites you the most. Therefore, you simply are being shown what opportunities, what paths to take, what roads to walk down, no matter how long it seems to take. It is what is necessary for that idea to come about, to find yourself right place and right time, to be exactly in touch with the timing of that manifestation. The only thing that makes it seem like it takes a long time is you do not think that the roads you are walking down have anything to do with that idea, but they do.
Oh, fine. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Bashar.
You!
Getting back on fear.
Back on fear.
I don't know whether I'm fearing dreams, but I'm having a difficult time. I know I dream, but I just don't remember them.
All right.
And
one more time. The idea, first of all, maybe this does and maybe this does not apply to you, but pay attention. Another fourth density symptom is that as you are blending your dream and physical reality into one reality, you do not need to create the memory of a dream bridge to link the two realities that are no longer separate. Remembering a dream is only there because you believe that physical reality and dream reality are not the same reality and have to form some sort of symbological interpretive link to allow you to know that they are connected. When you begin to live your dreams and allow your dream reality to become your physical reality, you will not need to remember a dream because you will constantly be living the dreams. You will always be awake and you will never wake up. You are dreaming right now. You follow me?
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong with not remembering your dreams. The idea many times of negativity that causes that is refusing to look at certain portions of yourself that you do discover in the dream reality when you are keeping it separate from the physical. But the idea of not having a memory of dreams is not necessarily an indication of that. It may simply be a fourth density symptomatic indication that you are blending your dream and physical reality into one. So there is no need to create something that reminds you that they are separate.
Okay, another question. When the earthquake came, I guess it was at 2:20. I mean, dogs were just barking all over the place,
Right.
and I had a real difficult time getting back to sleep. So I know I just put some energy out, and I don't really remember what I said.
That is all right.
After that, the dogs stopped. All the dogs just stopped. And do we have the power within ourselves to...
Absolutely, but it is not control over things. It is cognition of your connection to everything. That power you have always had. That power is what you are. You follow me? Thank you for recognizing the connection and allowing the gateway to open that up to you as a reality.
Bashar? Yeah, I wanted to ask you for some clarification about what you say about doing what excites you most.
All right.
And what's more, you talked about doing what that excites you most and doing it, like with and in full input.
Right.
Well, sometimes to do what excites one always could look like, like giving total license, like to temptation. And
that is why we say with integrity.
Yeah, but yeah.
Now, not that you have to do it that way. If you wish to explore negativity, that is your choice. But do understand that in that way, the idea will once again create more separation, more limitation, and more judgment, and not allow you to recognize your connection to everything as synchronistic. So you will not necessarily experience an acceleration of anything positive.
Well, like all that I can say is that sometimes various temptations are quite...
What is temptation?
What is temptation?
Good. Is that another excuse for something that you say is outside of your power, beyond your ability to take responsibility for the creation of it? As if the idea of temptation had some sort of innate power that you did not hear.
No, I'm saying it's your choice. I mean,
all right, then. Then that is another way to say temptation. Translate into what I choose to do. That is all temptation is.
Just let me give you a concrete...
All right, concrete.
Well, for instance, say a person may be into hot fudge sundaes, and hot fudge sundaes really excite them. However, they know that,
Say what?
They may know that to partake of a hot fudge sundae may produce various consequences.
They know that?
They believe that.
All right.
Or they have observed that from, from observing the effect of hot fudge.
Once again, understand in this way that it is still an understanding and an opportunity to learn more about the beliefs that you have and to recognize that when you are in the positive synchronistic momentum of doing what excites you at any given moment, and you have created that atmosphere for yourself, then should that be something that comes up that excites you, it will not have a negative effect, because you know that your recognition of your excitement only leads to positive effects. You know this. If you know that following that urge is going to create in you something negative, then all you are saying is that what you are excited about is exploring negativity. So you are following your excitement.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's a good point. So
that is why we have suggested, not telling you that that is the way it has to be, but suggested that you do recognize the idea of integrity, integration, the positive aspect of the excitement, to allow yourself to know that should you partake of that so-called Sunday, and you allow it to create the negative effects within you, then your excitement was to explore that, to find out what you believed in, what you believed would be the negative effects that would happen to you. That can be exciting as well. Thus giving yourself an opportunity to become excited about the possibility of not necessarily needing to experience those negative effects ever again, because now you are aware of them and know why they happened. And then you will not necessarily have the urge for that any longer, or if you find yourself in that way partaking of that, it will no longer have a negative effect.
Well, that all went by quick, but like I think I got the gist. But the thing, the thing is, maybe you could say a few more words about, like the
all right.
excitement of the
Thank
exploration of
you.
negativity.
In this way, recognize that the idea simply is to know that many times when you sit down and you think of all the things that excite you the most, we are not necessarily saying that you have to think of the thing that could be the most exciting thing you will ever do in your life at that moment.
Right.
We are simply recognizing that the idea is that there are many opportunities that have presented themselves to you already.
Yeah.
And if you act upon the most exciting one, it will lead to more and more and more synchronistic opportunity. Do recognize that if the idea of all the ideas you could possibly even conceive of that are available for you to act upon, if the idea of eating that Sunday does turn out to be the most exciting thing you can imagine out of all the things you can conceive of to do that are available to you, then obviously it has a reason for being so. So go ahead.
Yeah.
Discover what you discover by doing it.
Right.
Because it may be that getting in touch with the negativity you might create is what you need to do. That is still acting through integrity.
Okay, I do that.
Do you understand one other idea? The idea of functioning within integrity, not that it has nothing to do with the idea of respecting and loving yourself, but it more, in a sense, has to do with the idea of not forcing your viewpoint on someone else. For in this way, the idea is that if you are choosing to experience the negativity only upon yourself and are not forcing someone else, or let's say attempting to force someone else to experience it with you, then in a sense it is self-contained within your universe and can still have a greater leeway of the idea of expressing integrity, even when it may result in a negative manifestation, because you're simply not allowing anyone else to be affected.
Right.
You follow me?
Yes, I do.
Does that clarify it to some extent?
Well, if it does, will I have a third?
Proceed.
Good question. Thank you. Oh God, the question was. So therefore, say the thing that happens to be in front of your nose that excites you most, like happens to be an experiment or an exploration of so-called negativity. However, that's what's in front of your nose at that moment, and that's what excites you the most right then. Okay, speak, please.
With integrity.
Yes.
if you recognize and understand the idea that you are going to experience that negativity at the sake of your integrity, then you are not fulfilling the idea that we discussed.
Okay.
If you recognize that you are going to take that excitement and use it negatively to impinge upon someone else, then you are not functioning within the idea of the integrity that allows you to maintain a conscious connection to your own positive excitement and synchronicity.
Of course. Right.
That is all there is to it.
Okay.
Bashar?
You.
Is it important to know about reincarnation?
No.
It's not.
No. Live your life. Do recognize that it is a tool of understanding like anything else. You do not have to understand. There are many individuals who are living as fourth density individuals, have never even heard the term metaphysics, reincarnation, life after death. They are simply living the life they know themselves to be and are doing it in a fourth density way. In this way, you recognize also that many times the exploration, while valid, of all of those ideas of past lives, future lives, alternate lives, usually always lead back to how they can assist you now in this life, since this is where you are. So if you are simply there to begin with and recognize that you have other ways of recognizing that, then it does not matter what tool you use, since you are creating your connection to the past and the future from the present anyway. You may all take a short break. So say, first of all, that the idea of the title for the take this evening of your time can be energy gate. Sure.
Bashar?
You.
We've talked about the crystal skull.
Okay.
And I've been gaining some information that indicates that some people surmise that its origins are pre-Atlantean, even pre-Lemurian. And we've discussed them in terms of the origin being Mayan. Could you comment on that?
In this way, you will find that there is some reality in the sense that it predates the Mayan in that way, but mostly you will find that there have also been other crystalline artifacts in that way. It is mostly the idea of the technology itself and the utilization of the technology in that way that predates the artifact. It was in this way simply that technology, that understanding, that information that allowed that civilization to create such an artifact that carries with it a sense of ancientness about it by its very nature. Because of the blueprint it was fashioned from, it carries with it intrinsic connections to ancient times, so that each and every artifact that is created in that manner can be perceived, or would by nature, by definition, be perceived by those sensitive to it as something that is quote-unquote older physiologically than it is.
I see. Is that connection made simply to the technology of crafting, or is it...
In a sense, yes, because of what it is, because it does function as a dimensional energy gate, then any sensation, any perception of it as an artifact will always bring with it an understanding or a perception of the fact that it is connected to all places and all times. So it will feel older than it may physically be.
Oh, I see. The concept of energy gate predates that and connects to all the other areas.
Right. But any time such an artifact is made, following that pattern, following that blueprint, and functions as an energy gate, it may, to certain sensitivities, seem to be older than it physically is.
I understand.
Thank you.
Also, last week, I asked you if I had appeared as virtual personality on your planet. You indicated basically yes. And you mentioned you perceived energy of my working with crystal sheets. And my response was, I'll take your word for it. And the reason I responded that way is because my perception was that I did that in my dream state.
All right.
Therefore, I don't recall my dreams generally, therefore I didn't have a specific recollection of it, although it seemed fitting. It seemed just fine to me that that's what I would have done.
All right.
And I wanted to find out what what the crystal sheets do, what they are, and in what way?
Now, we have described them to some degree. They are, in a sense, what you might call a technological manifestation. They are imbued, in a sense, with a type of, loosely termed, circuitry that allows them to perform many functions according to how they are applied in connection to other manifestations. In a sense, they can be utilized as remote computers, which can also attach themselves to other crystalline forms and allow transformations of those crystalline forms according to the programming in the crystalline sheet. They can be broken into different sizes. They can actually perform the function of the idea of becoming a whole, where necessary, upon a craft in that way, if such is necessary. And in this way, they can allow themselves to be reprogrammed for many different ideas, many different understandings that have to do with both physiological technology and mental technology. They are, in a sense, the skeleton keys of our technology. They are multi-versatile, multi-applicable.
Is it quartz crystals that we have on this planet?
Not exactly, no. It is a combination metallic crystalline substance that is a combination of something that you might recognize to some degree as combinations of crystalline structures of magnesium and iridium.
Okay. What is the thickness of this crystal sheet?
Not more in your counting than approximately, although there will be some variation, between what you call 1/4 to 1/2 inch.
Now, what is my function in dealing with these?
Simply, you are there to understand the idea of the malleability of such a device as it points out to you the relationship of technology and consciousness.
When you say malleability, are you referring to the physical malleability or
Yes.
Programming malleability?
Both. Put in this way, what you program it to be allows it to become also physically malleable.
I'm trying to understand that concept.
Let us say that you had a sheet, and you were upon a planet that you were exploring. In this way, the sheet, a large sheet, so aptly programmed, could become the idea of what you would call a shelter. And certain portions of it could also function as the exploratory devices that you may need to analyze what you are exploring.
Does that mean it will take a physical shape?
Yes.
Without mechanical...
all the mechanics are built into its circuitry. It simply will respond according to the energy matrix the circuitry gives it. It will take that form.
Well, does that mean that, let's say you, as I conceive of this in my imagination, you land upon a planet with a craft, and you've got this whole, or this stock load of crystal sheets. You take a bunch of them out and you say, well, this one is programmed as a shelter, this is programmed as an exploration vehicle, and they just take shape right before your eyes?
In a sense, yes.
Wow. That's very wild.
You are simply understanding that there can be simplification of your technology to represent the multiplicity of ideas.
Yeah.
This you are beginning in your society to explore with new combinations of metallic plastics that are also conductive.
Yeah. Well, we haven't, as far as I know, we haven't really tapped into the idea of transmogrifying.
Oh, just beginning to.
Really?
Just beginning to. For now, one of the first primary steps is the recognition of what you call metal memory or plastic memory.
Yeah. What do we use it in?
Not many things right now, but a few devices.
Well, if you would name one, it would probably jog my memory and give me an
certain
example.
types of energy engines, but again, most of these are in the experimental stage on your planet.
Yeah.
It is not in what you call widespread use, although there is one idea that, let us say, it is a sort of precursor to this understanding, and it is what you may refer to as the bimetallic strips of what you call your thermostatic controls. Okay. When a certain temperature is reached, it takes one shape, another temperature, another shape, and performs the function of a switch on and off.
I understand that. I would think that's a primitive form of that.
It is a beginning.
Because I would think that what you're talking about in crystal sheets is something which uses interdimensional functioning to change form.
Yes.
In much the same way that you move your spacecraft.
Yes. It is simply interdimensional engineering.
Yeah. So it just goes into a different dimension, in which it has a different shape. Now, does it go into that different dimension in a step function, so it goes instantaneously to its final shape, or does it go through a sequence in which there's a process in which it takes form?
You would observe there to be a smooth transition, a small process.
In actual fact, it's changing different dimensions.
Yes.
Bashar.
Hey.
You said earlier tonight that a bunch of symptoms which you mentioned, which I've had all of, were symptoms of moving into the fourth dimension.
They are symptoms of moving into fourth density while still retaining some connections to third.
Okay, I had a little confusion on relating that to another thing you said at another time
All
about pain being created by judgment.
Yes, thank you. The idea simply is that you have a habit of thinking of yourself in a certain way as a third density being. When you begin to have the notion or become aware of the idea of fourth density, then in this way you will find that you usually begin to explore that understanding from the third density point of view. One of the things that you have created in your society to begin the exploration of fourth density from the third density point of view is the creation of a so-called belief that as a third density individual you have a slower vibration than you will have as a fourth density individual. But this is still the remnant of a judgment. The creation that the idea or belief that the third density is somehow less than the fourth density. So in this way you create a separation while you are quote-unquote forcing yourself to explore fourth density and therefore allowing yourself to experience some accelerations of energy in that way, you still hold on to the idea that while you are doing the exploring, you are still somehow something less than what it is you are becoming. You are moving at a slower vibration in that way. Therefore, as long as you are exploring the idea of higher vibration, as you create the idea of fourth density to be represented in your mentality as a so-called higher vibration, and at the same time still retain a notion that while you are doing this, you are a slower vibration, this judgment and this comparison of separation then creates the scenario wherein you have two different vibrations within the same body. This causes friction, which causes pain. When you simply know that you are what you are at any given moment, and what you are at any given moment is what you need to be, you will then accelerate as a smooth oneness of vibration in that way, and not create comparisons between something you think is less to become something you think is more. You will become one vibration, you will erase the friction, there will be no pain.
That helps a lot, thank you. I do have
Thank you. Yes.
In this lifetime, I had a son who died at the age of 32, about 10 years ago.
Hey.
I have had some communication that I feel that he has indicated he was waiting
All
for
right.
me and possibly his sister.
Many individuals who choose to form life bonds with certain other individuals and then partake of a transformation into non-physicality before, so to speak, the other individuals, do so to function as spirit guides for those still alive. For in that way, many times you will find that your desire to communicate with that individual will then be what lures you and spurs you on to extend your senses to reach into different areas and different levels of yourself. In a sense, therefore, they, by having gone to another level, are luring you to extend your senses to that level of yourself as well.
Okay, well, he didn't seem to be doing terribly well in his lifetime here. Nevertheless, he could be in a fourth density at this point.
Non-physical form. Now, at this time, there is also a perception on our part that, as we perceive the energy of that individual, there is also opportunity for an aspect of that individual to also have already formed a reincarnation. This does not mean you cannot still be in communication with another aspect of them. For on the level of the fourth density non-physical, the idea of who they used to be no longer strictly applies. Therefore, many ideas and counterpart formations can be accomplished, and other aspects of the soul can be incarnating, while different aspects still carry on a communication with you.
Bashar?
Bashar?
Yes, yes, yes.
Whenever it was break time, I had a real loose tooth. It was about to come out, and at my last bite, I was eating the cookie, and then it felt weird where my tooth was almost coming out, and then it wasn't there, but then it was in my mouth somewhere. I didn't know where it was.
All right.
Could you tell me where it is?
But you do not need it. In this way, recognize simply that the idea is you are giving yourself an opportunity to change one idea for another idea which will grow in its place. And as that idea grows, to recognize that you, with the same natural smoothness, change the entire being that you are. In this way, you don't have to search for aspects of your past, for you are creating your past from now. Allow what has been in your life to serve you. Allow what you are now to be just as beautiful as anything you have ever been. There is no need to look back, but simply recognize that you are always in the process of becoming something new, always being a new idea. Go on forward. All right? Thank you.
Bashar?
You.
If this moment in time on our planet, a transitional phase, third density, fourth density, is the planet itself going through a similar change?
Yes.
Will there be physical changes expressed on the planet that we can see?
Some.
Like what?
Some of these manifestations you have expressed as some of the ideas you call your earthquake. Some of them are changes in your electromagnetic field. Some of them also, in this way, are changes in the type of atmosphere you may be breathing. Some of them, in this way, will also be the sensations of different types of pulses going on in your planet. Some of it may also be the cognition that certain ideas and objects on your planet may be giving off more light than they used to, may seem to be brighter than they used to. You may also find that there will be some fluctuation in the ideas you call temperature. Some ideas may be the cooling of certain areas to allow the energy to crystallize and become superconductive.
Okay, will there be if it's affecting this planet, would be also affecting the solar system, like sunspots, stuff like that?
Yes, but again, understand, it is not so much that one thing affects another in that way, but that everything you are witnessing is simply different manifestations of the same one interaction, all interrelating.
Okay, and you also mentioned that the fourth density experience would be a 2,000 to 3,000 year.
Approximately, as we perceive your energy at this time. Because you do not need as much time for integration as you have created for separation experiences.
So we would be using that time to move to a fifth density?
more and more integration, unification, harmonic resonance upon your planet, ecstatic joy.
Thank you.
Bashar, I was thinking about what you said about relationships. People having relationships that they are the relationship. It's
Very
not something
good.
they're having.
Yes.
And it occurred to me, the relationship my soul is having with the all that is right now, would that be me?
Yes.
Thank you very much. That's right. This time. Thank you.
Bashar.
You!
Bashar, I've heard it said that when projecting from, say, the mentalities of the etheric universe, projecting on a curvature is more accurate, more effective than projecting in straight lines. Does that make any sense?
Perhaps for the individual that suggested it. But it is simply one representational way to understand the relationship of yourself to all that is. If it makes sense to you, use it. If it doesn't, don't. It is simply a definition.
Well, is space itself, of course this gets back into physics, third dimensional. Is space itself built on a circle or curves? Is that how you see it as a...
In a sense. But again, space-time is also an illusion, built on nothing.
It's adjustable to saying, well, it's this way or it's this way. It could be, both could be quite true.
There are mass conscious representations that are created to be generally applicable throughout any given universe, and in that sense there is a degree of recognizable spiraling curvature that energy will represent itself within in this physiological universe.
Okay. One question I have, different subject.
Oh.
The subject of law which in my interpretation governs the world of creation itself. Let me express this.
All right.
For example, there is a law, it seems there's a law which says that if you are in your own domain, you're creating your own dominion, so to speak, and your own reality, then there is this tendency that other outside vibrations will not interfere with you, will not be negatively affecting you. You see what I'm saying?
That is because there is no outside. Whatever you are is it. You are your own entire universe.
Okay. So is that a law, right? Is that a law which affects all beings?
It is an agreement.
It's an agreement. Okay. Well, the real core of the question is, I've experienced a sense. It was an abstract sensing, not actually perceiving, but a sensing of elders outside this reality structure.
We understand. You are simply in touch with different levels of consciousness as you interpret them to be on different levels.
Elders which would appear not as any manifestation, but only as perhaps a law, the law of order, the law of evolution.
We understand what you are saying, but you are only recognizing the agreements of all the consciousness within the idea of that particular universe you are perceiving.
So you're saying it's nothing more than that? It's all...
It has its own self-awareness, but that does not mean it is not a co-creation with you. You are all co-creations with each other, and yet you each have your own self-awareness.
Yeah. Is that where it stops?
That's where it begins and ends.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There are elders. There are you. There are the idea that you are both a single co-creation that defines each other.
Oh, I see. Okay, because there seems to be worlds that will defy naming. Defy definition.
Only because that is the definition of your reality to not have those definitions.
Okay.
The idea on those levels is that definition is simply knowingness, not analytical.
Yeah, there's a thing in the Bible where God does not want to be named, doesn't want to be marked. And you see what I'm saying?
Oh, it is not that God doesn't want to be. It has nothing to do with the idea of wanting to be. It is simply the idea of recognizing that there are the ideas of levels, so to speak, levels, within all that is, for which your particular level of experience does not create a recognizable conscious definition other than the actual direct experience of knowingness itself.
I see. Okay.
Thank you.
You. I learned last night that Jane Roberts died of cancer, and it bothered me a little bit. I wonder why someone would.
Because each and every individual, no matter what service they provide, is always their own individual and controls their reality utterly. That is why.
So it was a choice that she
Of
had
course.
for some personal reason.
Of course.
Okay, thank you.
Bashar?
You! About a week ago, I had a dream of doing some sort of a healing with a pale green crystal about 8 inches long. I was wondering what if that was a life and what I was doing with that.
It is mostly a representation of your recognition or your cognition in the present that the vibration that most, let us say, quote unquote, accurately represents the transformational fourth density Earth is the emerald crystal, because it is the green vibration of the transformation in this way. You are simply recognizing your ability to channel the energy in healing ways with the use of a symbolic wand that represents an octave of reality.
And another question, with your triad of planets that is associated with this planet Earth, what density would Sirius be in your star system be at this time in comparison to Earth, working from third to fourth? How is it?
Our system is from going fourth to fifth. Sirius, the portion of Sirius consciousness that has been involved in the interaction with the triad, is in sixth.
Thank you.
Now, one idea before we proceed in this way. At this time, not so much the exemplification of the energy itself, but communication, a message that we will deliver. Now, we have already shared the idea of the energy gate that connects up to the idea of the Orion energy. As of last week, your time, we said there would be a brief understanding in this way. Also, a brief understanding of Arcturus energy at this time. Very brief, not so much an actual communication, but through us in this way. For now, this is a seed which can be embedded in your mentality and allowed to blossom. And recognize it is, once again, simply a symbol, but valid nonetheless for the certain portions of your mentality that it will touch. The representational symbol of Arcturus is a 12-pointed star, white on black. We will let that sink in for about, a week. And there are connections in another type of association, another type of triad, to use that term loosely, between Arcturus and the star you recognize to be Polaris. For it is in line with your magnetic north in this way, and thus is connected to the idea of some of the shiftings that will take place electromagnetically. for your balancing of the polarities within your system. More doorways to come, each with its potential for expansion, acceleration, and blending, and ecstasy. Sure.
Bashar.
You.
The cat that lives with me killed a baby rat and brought it upstairs and put it in front of my neighbor's door. And, I was just wondering, I could not quite grasp what that represented.
Did you ask your neighbor?
No.
Why don't you? Maybe you will explore something. Maybe you will find that the cat is being of service to more than just one individual.
That's quite helpful.
Have a good time.
Thank you.
And do not forget that the animal is only representing the idea that many of your individuals in your society think that you need in terms of the idea of protection.
Okay, what would cats represent the transition into the fourth density? What would rats have a similar type of representation? And if so, what?
In this way, once again, there may be a tie to some of the ideas of your subconscious fears.
Okay.
But it may also have different validities for different individuals. One connection may be more colloquially what you call panic. Thank you.
Bashar?
You.
A little while ago, in answer to a question, you said that one of the physiological manifestations of the transformation might be a cooling of the Earth. Does that mean that we may be in for another ice age?
Not exactly an extensive idea, but there may be the lowering of temperatures in various areas, but there may be first fluctuations in temperature until it evens out overall. It may be more of a pendulum swing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar?
You.
Our grandfather just died, and while he was his last, few hours alive, he seemed to be wanting to say something, and I was kind of wondering what it might be and if we could communicate with him and how we would do so.
Your imagination once again. Where is it?
Where is what?
Your imagination.
In my head?
You think so?
I don't know. I've never been asked that question before.
Ah. So, now you ought to be mad. Where is it, do you suppose?
It feels like somewhere in the upper half of my body. I don't know. My heart?
Are you guessing?
Yeah.
All right. You have guessed your head, you have guessed your heart. Where else? In your laughter, too, yes. What else?
All around me.
Ah! Since you know that your physical reality is a product of your imagination, yes? Why should it stop there? It is not only all around you physically, it is everywhere. You are it. It is you. Therefore, you are in communication. Open your imagination. Feel the communication that is going on. Feel it. You do not necessarily have to have an analytical interpretation of it. Just feel it and act accordingly as you feel yourself to be so moved. All right? Now, what ideas do you think would be being shared at this time? Do not think about it. Just feel it. It may, in your case, sound like something you are thinking about yourself. It may come out in your mentality as a self-proclaimed statement, but don't think about it. Don't say, well, it sounds like I'm saying this about myself, but that can't be right. Don't think about it. Don't judge it. Just what do you feel?
That he's saying?
What do you feel?
Just what do I feel right now?
Yes.
A little vulnerable.
Vulnerable. All right. Then you are open. You are open to infinite strength and infinite communication. How does it feel to be vulnerable? Do not think about it.
It's a little scary.
All right. Now, imagine that while you are exploring your vulnerability, imagine that your recently transformed friend is participating with you from a vantage point wherein he knows beyond the shadow of a doubt that you are doing just fine in your life. How would you feel if you could receive that information from him? Why?
I would feel that he was present with me.
Do understand something. In the dimension in which he exists, he can always be present with you. In the dimension in which you exist, you can choose to not be present with him. So anything that does not feel like you are with each other is from your end, not from his. You follow me?
Yes.
So comfort yourself and relax into the communication that is always there. All right?
Okay.
Send love. You are receiving love. It will be felt both ways. Trust that any assistance and communication that individual is going to give you is going to come through the synchronistic experiences of your physical life. That is the way they can best serve you. You follow me?
Yes.
Let it be unobtrusive so that it can paradoxically become more apparent in unexpected ways. All right. Also allow that individual to go through whatever changes they need to make. Simply expect that the communication is there. When it needs to stand out, you will receive an appropriate letter. All right? Sleep on it. All right?
Okay.
Pleasant dreams.
Bashar.
Good.
I realized after asking my question, there was more to my question about Green Roberts that I feel a little troubled about.
All right.
I'd like to explore what.
Speak up.
I'd like to explore what might be the service or motivation for leaving the body that way.
It might. Now, there may be many reasons. This is one that we are allowed to share with you at this time. Recognize that at this time, that individual is, in a sense, not responsible for, but in your terms, responsible for the idea of many individuals now getting in touch with the idea of channeling their higher selves and channeling many different energies. That individual opened many gates, opened many doors. At the same time, you will find that there is one very strong belief system in your society about channeling, and that is, do you, as an individual, retain control? Well, I would say that Jane has shown you beyond a shadow of a doubt that your life is always your life, regardless of the agreements you make with Spirit. So you know that if something like that can occur to someone who was of such positive benefit through the channeling itself, then you know beyond the shadow of a doubt that the polarity that that represents in your mind shows you that an individual's life is always an individual's life, and the way they choose to live it is completely up to them, regardless of the services that they can also become and provide. That is one way you can look at it. You may not see it so strongly at this time, simply because you may not be in the midst of that particular exploration. But for many individuals to whom it is of a great concern, so to speak, to know that while they are making their agreements with other levels of consciousness, that they do retain the right to control their own lives, it might come as something of a pleasant surprise to know that that could happen. Not that they have to exemplify it negatively in that way, for the idea now is that Jane has done so. No one else needs to take it to that extreme. But it does show that you are in full control. In that way, she was of service by allowing herself to take it to that extreme. For now, that extreme is played out. You follow me? Yes, no, maybe.
Maybe.
That will do for now. Perhaps you will find more understanding in it when you yourself key into a particular type of frequency or a particular type of endeavor, wherein you may then need to understand it. Perhaps now you simply do not need to understand it any further than you do. Thank you.
Bashar?
Yes.
I have a question about crystals. First, I just want to thank you for sharing. It's wonderful.
We thank you for co-creating the sharing.
I just recently got involved in crystals, and I really enjoy it. And I just want to
You mean again?
Quartz crystals, again, absolutely. What I wanted to ask you was, I was thinking of something, and then with what you said about them tonight, are they really, a crystal gives you, acts as a catalyst to get you in touch with vibrations of what you're working on?
You have a term in your society, I believe it says bingo.
Thank you.
You are your own master crystal, always. The crystals are symbolic representations of the primal energy in an ordered state that reflects to you your conductivity and your relationship to the matrix of all that is. Yes, thank you.
Bashar.
Yes.
Just to continue what he was saying, so a person could achieve whatever recognitions or cognitions they wanted to or needed to with or without the crystals, in essence.
Yes. If they believe that they are their own crystal in a way, and they simply act like the vibration of the reality they know to be true for themselves, they have the cognitions they need.
Okay, thank you.
No tool other than what you were born with is necessary. Though it is not invalid to explore yourself in that way.
Yeah.
For it is all you.
Okay. One thing, I have on the subject of death, for me, it's a little confusing. I'm not sure sometimes if I'm physically dead or not. Because I think there's times when I've already reached that timing, in a sense, that I'm having a hell of a lot of fun. I'm having a good time.
All right.
I'm having a lot of fun, and it seems like the body is a little dog behind me. I'm dragging along, and I sometimes forget that I've got that with me, and it becomes a little bit of an encumbrance.
Simply you are, once again, finding yourself fluctuating between the idea of less materiality and more materiality. It is, again, a typical symptom of the transformation. You are exploring the idea of the transformation itself and recognizing the polarity within it.
I find myself wishing sometimes that it would just get it over with. I feel more about 2/3 spiritual and 1/3 physical. It's
I
a
see.
little bit of a...
As if being physical was not a spiritual thing.
well, no, I'm not developing that. It's just there's the certain weight. There's certain weights that...
We understand what you mean. It is still no less spiritual.
Okay.
All you are doing is experiencing some ideas of judgment.
Okay.
Again, enjoy everything, for in that way you have created it for that purpose.
All right. Thank you.
It is all created from the substance and fiber and essence of your being, which is unconditional love, which is what you are made of. On every level. All right.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Bashar?
Yes.
Would arthritis be a condition of one of the conditions of the transformation?
It can be an opportunity to exercise your knowledge of the transformation and not necessarily need that tool. In this way, it may be reflective of beliefs that there is a lack of flexibility in you.
Could you explain that again?
The idea may, for some individuals, be a reflection of their belief that they lack flexibility, the flexibility to change. That they believe that the rigidization of a structure is a natural end result of certain processes in a rather entropic way. You follow me?
Yes. Okay. Why would this only occur like every few years? Why would it go away and then come back?
In this way, you are simply exploring the variations cyclically in this way. When, in your terms, it does not manifest, you are not the individual, you are not the idea, and you are not the vibration that contains the possibility of that realization. When it is there, you are. Because as you are accelerating, you have a belief within you in this way that you wish to explore a stable structure around which you feel you are orbiting from different points of view. So you dip back into that belief system, become that individual again, to see where you are relative to that concept. So you reintroduce the effect over and over again so that you can understand yourself from all the different points of view and recognize the homogeneousness no matter where you are. So it is simply a matter for you to recognize that you do not have to continue to orbit that structure and keep dipping back into it to see if there is any appreciable difference, but that it is simply representative of a structure you do not need. Turn the other way and go outward into space and expand by going within yourself in that sense.
Thank you.
Did you follow me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Bashar?
Bashar?
Then you.
On your opening dialogue, when you mentioned all of the characteristics of going through the transformation, from the back, pains, the sinus, etc. The last couple of days, it seems like everything you mentioned, I wasn't even going to come tonight. By accident, I'm here, right?
Oh, yeah.
You suggested research the Pleiades, which I've been doing for the last couple of days, and I don't know if there's any connection on that and all of this this transformation of everything you mentioned, and a couple of new ones were coming in. What I kind of would like you to do, if possible, is to go over, as we're going through these stages,
some of the more attractive things that we start coming through into the fourth density, and I know you've commented on these lightly before, but could you go over
Lightness of spirit.
Oh, I'll take it.
It's yours. Free of charge.
I think too. That's a good one too.
All right.
And I'll take more.
More what?
Anything. Just something.
Anything?
No, not. It's not the most attractive thing to sit in when your back is out, your sinus is going, your neck's hurting, and et cetera, et cetera.
Do you like to dance?
Yes.
When was the last time you did?
Oh dear, 10 years ago.
Would you take it as a suggestion to dance a little more often?
Sounds good.
All right. Then you may find that may be one way you can, quote unquote, symbolically, of course, stabilize your electromagnetic field and balance your entire system. The spinning motions of the dance, the lilting, lightness of spirit, heart, and step, can transfer ever so smoothly into the path you are in life.
Thank you.
Find you, butterfly.
Oh, very good. Very good. Thank you. You remember.
Female.
Yes. You said something very fascinating at another channeling about the crystal skull, in that one could gaze upon it. It had some intrinsic characteristic which, if one gazed upon it, they would integrate. Somehow I got the idea more quickly than.
It would give you an opportunity to do so. If you could not do so, you would not be able to take advantage of the dimensional gate it would provide to you if you did.
Gotcha. So you don't really even need it for that, then?
Oh, not necessarily, although it may be one tool that someone may find fascinating enough to interact with.
Yes, there was some part where you mentioned that if there were certain characteristics of it that a person could do it to the degree that they could not handle it. In other words, it would be beyond their control, which conflicts with the idea we've been talking about.
Not beyond their control. They may create a scenario in which it seems it is beyond their control, but the usual effect will simply be to turn away from it.
I see. Okay.
It brings up ideas that if you fear them, can create a scenario in which it seems you are out of control.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Male.
Bashar. Yeah. Is there a correlation between the model, the physical, astral, causal, mental, and the various densities that you talk about?
Yes. They are all counterpart energy representatives of the different octaves of universal reality, all exemplified in a manifestation of layers within each and every individual.
I don't follow that totally.
They are energy models of all the different dimensions in which you exist.
Do they relate directly or correlate directly, such as the astral might represent the second level density, like that?
Fourth density.
Astral fourth density.
Okay.
Causal fifth.
Okay.
Mental sixth.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Sharing.
Bashar?
Female.
I hear that you've been talking about the new children that are coming to this planet, being born soon. And I'm going to have
Off and on.
Off and on. I'm going to have a baby in February. Can you tell me anything about these souls that you're talking about?
Simply, that the idea once again is that many of these individuals will not forget so much. And many of them are forming associations to a type of patterned energy from the idea of Arcturus to assist them to be able to remember more of who they are once they are physical in your plane. Many of them will be reminding the parents of what the agreements are all about. It is now that these children are being born into an atmosphere that allows for the possibility of the expansion of consciousness. That will show. They, in a sense, will become and are not so much as you have termed it in the past, not so much just another generation, but truly and distinctly, they are a completely different culture altogether. Will that do?
Yes, I've been studying astrology, and I noticed that Spica and Arcturus are at the same part of the zodiac, and that many people in their charts have wonderful experiences when they have planets in this position. Can you tell me if this has something to do with the manifestation of these new beings?
Yes.
How does it work?
Connections of consciousness, cognition, electromagnetic balancing, restructurifying, in a sense, identification patterns, congruency, overlapping vibrational patterns that represent also the release and expression of the child within each and every one of you in joy and ecstasy and growth and curiosity and excitement and imagination. Once again, perhaps a reflection might be the 12-pointed star, pleasant dreams. Sharing!
Bashar?
Yes!
I have a couple other things to share.
Oh, right, by all means.
One is another realization that I've had in the last. I had a purpose and a connection, and I didn't. And you almost wouldn't discuss it with me, which was, of course, the right action. And since then, I've realized what my connection is. Oh, do share. I will.
Thank you.
I don't know how many other people experience this, but
maybe you'll find out.
Maybe I will. Almost after every channeling session, one or two or more people come to me and thank me for my questions. It gives me a very warm, very connected kind of feeling.
To know that you have been of service simply by being who you are.
Yes, yes, and it's very heartwarming to me, and I appreciate their expression of something that I'm doing because I enjoy it, and I am glad to be of service to them. And I realize that the connection that I have with you and with the group is to be of service in that way.
Oh, thank you.
And I realized that the reason I didn't feel connected is because I didn't have a sense of the agreement that was made, which defined that purpose or defined that connection.
Simply because perhaps it was always right under your nose.
Yeah. And once I realized that my activity in the group was the purpose, I gained a sense of that agreement.
So the understanding came with the term catalyst?
Actually, no. I see the connection that you make right now.
All right.
With that, yeah. But the understanding came just as I gradually began to realize, I function here to do this, and I'm being of service to myself and to others, and it is something that, it's not just a fluke that people come up to me and say this. It's not just a fluke that I'm coming up with questions that really tune into a lot of people.
The only flukes we know of are on the tails of whales.
So once I perceived that was my purpose, I just gained that sense of the agreement. And it became very warm.
May I take this opportunity to thank you for allowing us to enjoy you?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes? Thank you.
I wanted to discuss the idea of using the 100% of your energy or yourself in an idea.
Oh, what?
If I understand correctly, oftentimes when you make reference to that idea, you're suggesting that people have an idea that they want to do, and they're still hanging around with something that they don't want to do, say 30%, and they're doing what they want to do 70%. Therefore, that idea is not going to manifest 100% because they're still hanging around in the other idea, right?
Because they are creating the idea of both to be representative of one idea and not truly a different idea.
Right, okay. I don't know if there's any difference. What if somebody's doing 3 things that they are really excited about? Does that mean that each idea is only going to develop a third of the way because they're involved?
But that may be the definition of the 100% idea, that those 3 things go into supporting each other to form the 100% momentum of the total group of things they are doing. To do it that way doesn't necessarily mean that you have to eradicate the different elements. It simply is a matter of looking at the idea positively or negatively. And if the one idea you are being is enjoyable to you, doing this and that, 30, 70, or 33, 33, 33, then that is the one idea you are doing. And that is the way it can be enjoyable. If you recognize that all the different pieces go into making up the whole, and the whole is what you do enjoy doing, then everything is, in your terms, a positive outlook. The idea simply is when you have within you the belief that the 2 things you are doing within the one idea are not both just as enjoyable. You follow me? Mm-hmm. In other words, if to do this job 30% and this job 70% is the one idea you enjoy 100%, then there is no need to change it.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
The sort of belief on this planet that anything that is...
A sort of belief?
Well, I don't... Maybe it's my belief, but what I see is anything that's primitive or natural is more spiritual than anything that is synthetic or modern.
I see.
And, well, people sort of go off into the desert and ask somebody who lives in a teepee, secrets of the universe or something like that, they think that eating an apple is more spiritual than eating a Twinkie bar.
Now, there are symbolic representations of the choices of positive and negative synchronicity, and in that sense, we understand that one may be more positively representative of the connection of your spirituality, and one may be more negatively representative of the connection of your spirituality. But in this way, it is mostly the belief that one is more spiritual than another that creates the reality of experience that is so. You will already be aware that there are many what may be called fables in your civilization, in your cultures, wherein the so-called master, wise person, or magician may utilize many different objects that are not normally considered spiritual and do spiritual things with them, and in so using them that way, allow the so-called apprentice to understand spirituality through the use of things that are not normally considered spiritual, but which are, when used that way.
It seems like an irony that we sort of go in both directions. Like we'll go to the more primitive, and we'll also come to the more advanced, like yourself. Rather than
more advanced?
Well, if you're up in a 6,000-foot spaceship, then technologically you're more advanced.
Well, we understand what you mean, but it is not so much truly the idea of advancement in that way. It is simply a different point of view of what it is you already are, too.
Well, from our definition, are you living what we would call a completely synthetic life? In other words, are you eating foods that are completely synthetic?
We do not really eat.
Oh, okay.
In this way, it is almost a combination of both, though, when the symbol was there in that sense. The idea is that what we did eat was not, quote-unquote, natural to our planet. However, our combined mass-conscious mentality is what created it, and it grew naturally from that point. So, even though it was synthetically created out of our electromagnetic reality of our mentality, it also had a natural aspect in that it was created to be representative of our connection to nature in that way.
There's just one more thing. I suffered from arthritis until about 6 months ago. And I was sitting in a cinema one night, and I suddenly realized that I was holding on to a position of rightness
Oh.
And the whole thing lifted off and just went up through the roof. And I've never had arthritis since.
Thank you for being of a reflective assistance in synchronous occurrence this evening of your time.
Bashar?
There is a few moments remaining for this interaction. Continue.
There's something I've been wondering about. Somebody brought it up once before. In magic or Wicca, there are certain laws, and one of them is that if you are in the process of creating something, you don't talk about it. But you've also talked about conviction. And I've wondered how that should be...
No shoulds. Once again, it is simply another way to understand that when we say, talk with us equally, we are actually saying, do what excites you the most.
Right, but if you do, okay, let's say
It is not that you cannot share, but what is being said is that the talking about it many times may take the place of the doing. You may be using your energy to talk rather than to do the idea. That is all that is being shared.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar?
Hey,
I've had some real funny pains in my teeth.
are you laughing?
No, but I was kind of excited.
Oh, all right.
I don't have very many weird things happening. I wondered if you had any insight on it.
Well, maybe you created it so that you would have some weird things happen to you. So you should be excited about it.
I know, but I'm a little worried too.
Oh.
It seems kind of serious.
In what way do you think your belief system will allow you to transform the idea?
Well, whatever happens to me is all right. So I could just be
All right, but that does not mean you do not have choice or preference.
Right. But
What is it doing for you? What are you learning?
Well, that there's things outside of the ordinary that I can connect with myself that
All right.
usually don't happen.
Do you find that when you explore some of those things, that now and then you might feel you have bitten off more than you can chew? Or are you comfortable with the amounts that you take?
Sometimes my ideas, I think, are greater than I can handle.
How can they be?
If I don't want to live them yet.
If you are able to conceive of them, how can they be bigger than the one that has created them?
Well, it's like I don't want to let go.
Let go of what?
Well, my other ideas.
Let them go?
Yeah.
Where will they go? There is nowhere for them to go to. They will always be there if you want them again. You are free to explore anything. And always every other idea will be just as equally within your reach. There is nowhere for anything to go. If you explore one idea and find it is not to your preference, then you will choose another one. That is.
Right.
Do you like blue light?
Yeah. Blue the color, I don't know about blue light.
Blue the color.
I don't like.
How do you perceive blue the color, if not by light?
Well, the color of the sky.
Is that not lit up?
Well, yeah. But I mean, there's red light, and I don't like that.
I did not ask you about red.
I like white light, and I like the color blue.
I see. Will you shine some blue light on your teeth?
Okay.
You will?
Yes.
Why? Because I said so? Why are you going to do it because I said so?
Well, because I figure you said that thinking maybe it would change something that I feel.
Oh. Is that why I said it? Oh, you imagined that's why I said it. Oh, thank you. Then you are vibrating in resonance with your own reality.
Yeah.
Allow your imagination to alter that suggestion of mine in any way, shape, and form it so desires. All right.
Yes.
Have a good time.
Clarify something, Bashar? You have referred to the use of crystalline blue-white light, and you've used it as a suggestion in the imagination. What exactly do you mean by that? That the light itself, which you don't see necessarily, is white?
That particular vibration that you call blue-white is very closely associated in your mass consciousness to the electromagnetic field that represents the balance of your system. Therefore, to infuse your entire system, whether in your imagination of non-physical reality or your imagination of physical reality, with blue-white light or blue vibrational light in that way, will be a representation, generally speaking, in your mass consciousness of the rebalancing of the electromagnetic field you are, and therefore a realigning of all the original zero-point blueprint definition patterns that you created yourself to be.
Okay, I understand that. It's more of a functional question that I have here, though. When I look at an object in physical reality, the object appears to have color. It might be white or it might be blue. Blue-white might be more of a faded blue, or it might be both colors intermixed on the same object. But I feel like I don't actually see the light, although my eyes do receive the light and translate the light into a perception of physical objects.
We understand.
But I don't see the light, going across the space. It's only when it enters the eye, and therefore, however, there are ideas of lasers wherein you can apparently see the light, but what it's actually doing is it's illuminating some floating substance in the air, smoke or whatever. So when you say imagine blue-white light, are you referring to some kind of a imagined object which has that color? Or
any way your imagination wishes to perceive it. We are simply giving you a very general concept and allowing you to alter it to whatever form you are comfortable with. It can be an object, it can be a crystal, it can be light itself, it can be a laser beam, it can be an animal that is blue. It does not matter. Whatever you relate to when you think of that idea, as we have suggested it to you, is the way your imagination needs to translate it.
So one of the ways would be, for instance, that when you say imagine blue-white light infusing your body, you could literally imagine yourself looking at your body and your body creating as a source of light blue-white light.
Yes.
Now my next question is, how can you have blue and white light at the same time?
You can have the variation of the different overlapping vibrations in that sense. We are simply using a reference point to allow you to make connections that will be made, whether it makes any analytical sense or not.
I understand that. I created for myself the idea of difficulty in imagining exactly how to use this tool you had suggested.
All right, but you can have blue-white light in the same way that you can have the idea of orange light, recognizing it to be the idea of the vibrations of red and yellow combined.
Okay, that I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Briefly.
Yes, briefly, I would like to thank you for once again calling to our attention the fact that indeed our imagination is the perfect tool. And I have been noticing in contacting different portions of my life this time and probably parallel times as well, that indeed that's what I have done over and over again, and it works beautifully, but I didn't happen to notice it. So I want to thank you for reflecting that.
We thank you, and will remind you once again that it is not only the perfect tool, it is what you are. We extend our unconditional love and appreciation to you all once again for the sharing that continues forever, the interaction that we are. We bid you exciting dream life and life dreams. We bid you a fond and loving good evening. Good evening. Everything goes
wonderful.
Wonderful. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you. No, thank you.